Welcome back, everyone, to Cinema Roundtable, where we will be reviewing the new film, Asteroid City. My name is Carell Taylor. I am an editor, a director, and a YouTuber.
My name is Lori Gabriel. I direct short movies, a web series, and I am a feature film screenwriter, as well as I write short movies. So thank you, everybody, for being here.
All right, so to start this off, Lori, I wanted to ask you, what are your top 3 standout moments in the film?
Okay, so before I get into that, I'm going to just briefly tell everybody what the movie was kind of about, as far as what I remember it, because there was some parts that were confusing, and I probably forgot about them because they were just confusing. So what I do remember is it's really about a family whose car breaks down in this desert city, and they have to stay there until their car gets repaired. And so they meet all these quirky characters. And then I'll tell you the rest later. But that's just kind of the setup of what the story is about. And so my standout moments, the top 3, would be when the kids are burying their mother's ashes in a Tupperware thing, right there in the desert, in between 2 houses, and they want to do a little ritual for their mom, and it's very weird. The 3 little girls are just like, one thinks pretends to be a witch, the other one pretends to be a demon, and they don't want to have their mom's ashes taken home. They want to keep them buried in the desert. So that would be one. And then another standout moment for me would be when the kids find out about their mom's passing. The dad just says, "Oh, your mom died 3 weeks ago," to his son and 3 daughters. And like the kids are very like stoic in their replies, like, "Oh, you should have told us this. I knew something was she was gone for a long time. Why didn't but I didn't realize she died." And so like there's no real like emotion being shown from the kids. It's just like, wow, that's an inconvenience. Why didn't you tell me? And yeah, and at the same time you could see that they're hurt, but they don't really express it. So I think that would be the second one. It came across as really funny, even though it's a really dark and serious matter that was happening. And though my third standout moment would be when the alien came down to collect the asteroid for inventory. So those are my top 3. What are your top 3 standout moments?
My top 3, so one of them obviously is one of yours, the moment where the father does not tell the kids for three weeks, that their mother has passed. As you said, I thought it was a very funny moment. It's definitely dark, but it was just how the whole interaction plays out, because he's kind of forced to tell them after he has to beg his father-in-law to come pick up his daughters, because his son was supposed to be there because he was part of some camp or whatnot, but the daughters needed to be picked up and taken to grandpa's house. And so he calls him in and he's like, "Well, did you tell them yet?" And he's just like, "No, I couldn't find the right time." And he's just like, "There's never going to be a right time. Like, you need to tell them." And so, that's when he goes and sits down and tells them. And like you said, like, there's so little emotion in that scene. It kind of makes it more heartbreaking. But the comedy, like, to me, was like when he tells the kids, after he tells them, he's like, "Well, come on, come in, give me a hug." And he hugs them for like literally 3 seconds. He's like, "All right, go sit back down. Go sit back down." So it's just like, it just shows that like he's not comfortable at all showing any emotion, and almost like he didn't even feel bad that he waited 3 weeks, And he asked his son, like, "Hey, did you know that your mom was dead?" And his son was even like, "I mean, I kind of thought, but like, you know, you could have told us." So that was definitely a standout moment for me. 2, I would say the hotel clerk. I liked when he was bringing the guest in, And he's like, "Oh yeah, it burnt down, but we got a tent there in its place." And they're like, "Well, we don't want to stay in a tent." And he's just like, "Well, that's what I got." And so they're forced to stay in a tent. So I thought that was really funny as well. And then lastly, I probably the introduction when their car breaks down. The mechanic, he's like he fixes it up, at least he thinks, and the car's all raised up, and he turns the key, the car starts, and they're like, "Oh yay!" And then this piece just falls beneath the car and it starts spinning around, and he sprays it down. And they're like, "Well, what's that?" And he's like, "I don't know." Just like, you're the mechanic, you don't know what just fell off of my car. So I thought that was really funny too.
So I think for people that aren't used to a Wes Anderson film, it can be kind of shocking and confusing because it's not necessary. It's more of sketches that are connected to each other rather than a full fledged out beginning, middle, and end for a story. So there are some really funny moments, and really poignant moments in it, and it does kind of make sense at the end. But it is like if you're not aware that that's going into it, what's going to happen, it can be a little bit jarring. Um, at least it was for me because I have never seen a Wes Anderson movie before. So I'm like, I had seen the trailer and the behind the scenes before we went to the movie. So I understood like it was going to have like what the set was going to look like. And, it was going to be a play within a play. I understood that that was kind of the gist of it, and there was going to be an asteroid, a crater somewhere, and people would the story would have to have that element in it. I don't know exactly what they were going to say about it, but I understood that was part of the story. When I what I remember about those standout moments is it made everybody, all the characters, very human and very relatable. Like, sometimes death is awkward. Sometimes it doesn't fit with what you want to have happen in your life. So I kind of took that from these moments where the kids really didn't know that their mom had died, and he just kind of flatly tells them, and they're like, "Oh, well, you could have told us." And then, the little girls, they probably are under 10 years old, all of them. I know there's a little toddler, and then there's two other ones. The fact that he didn't know how to communicate that their mom died and didn't understand how it would affect them, that really, like, it could have been played very serious, and everyone probably be crying in the audience and really upset with him, but they made it seem so comical that I was like, I just went along with that it was a funny moment, like, like it's like not to take it too seriously. So I think that kind
Yeah,
of helped take the edge off some of those more serious moments that could have just really ruined the film. Because we'd be like upset with like the writing and upset with the characters for, their insensitivity. So, and also I think um, the title is Asteroid City. So obviously there's going to be something to do with the crater. I want us to talk a little bit about the alien because it was really funny. That moment really stood out to me because the alien was not threatening, and he was kind of like shy, and he was posing for the pictures, and it was just, they made it seem like the alien was just like a joke and nothing to be afraid of, which I thought that was a good choice from the director to make it, to play down this whole scary element of a alien coming to Earth. And it was just like he was just doing a job to take the asteroid and mark it and then put it back down. So I thought that was really clever. So
for me, um, the alien scene, I think I agree it was effective in that film just because everything was pretty like quirky, and there really never were any there never was any like super serious moments in the film. They were there, but how it's played out, it never really emotionally feels that way. So it definitely was like for me, I felt like it was just a fun movie. The alien. So when I went to the movie, there was a like some school, like I think a college class or something that was there. And so there was a really long line at the concession when I first got to the movies. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go have a seat and waited out, watch some of this movie. And so I got up to go get some food and a drink. And when I came back into the theater, like the alien was just flying away. So I did miss
Oh,
when he first came down. I saw like basically the end of him being there, getting it, and flying away. So I missed some of it. But as soon as I sat down, the lady that was sitting next to me, she's like, "Did you see the alien?" I was like, "Yeah, it kind of looked corny," like. And then which I didn't get up again. And then they show the alien again when, like you said, he brings the asteroid back. And I just, I'll say that because the movie was like a play within a play, um, I guess that excused the the style and the look of the alien, but I was underwhelmed.
I do want to say that it was an enjoyable movie if you don't take it seriously. If you just go along with like go with the flow, whatever they're going to show you is what they're going to show you, and don't get up in trying to solve anything or trying to get a deeper meaning out of anything, because for me it was really, I'm not telling you to go in thinking this way, but for me it really helped me to like just enjoy it for what it was. And there was a lot of like celebrities in it, so it was a little bit strange like to see them in these roles because I couldn't take it seriously, like this is not really happening.
Yeah.
So for me, other people might like don't care about that stuff, but because I'm not used to seeing like Scarlett Johansson not being an Avenger in a very serious role where she's like, and now she's doing this really quirky woman who's like, she seems like she doesn't really take herself. She's very over dramatic in this story, and she's not really the best mom, and so it was just it was, for me, it was a little harder to accept her in this role of Midge, and that she'd be interested in the dad. That was a little strange for me because he didn't seem to
Honestly,
stand out too much.
I thought I actually really enjoyed their interactions with each other. And I think the reason why they kind of hit it off is because they were very alike, in a sense that she's a bad mom, he was a bad dad. They were both horrible parents. They both didn't really share emotion with their children, and they both didn't put their children first. He was a photographer, and that was his career, and that's what he put most of his time and attention in. And she was an actress, so like I thought that they were very, very much alike, and to me it made sense that they ended up having this relationship. But then also like her daughter and his son, they kind of had their little thing, and so because they had similar parents, so to me it fit. She was different to see her in that role. I agree with you, but how they connected with each other, I thought that made sense.
Okay, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that. I didn't see them making sense. He seemed kind of like aloof. She was aloof in her own way, but it just didn't seem like they would be able to connect with anybody, regardless of who it was. So I had a hard time seeing them as a romantic couple. I just felt like it was just like they were both just kind of going through the motions. And
Yeah.
also because he doesn't do anything that I would be like, wow, he's exciting and interesting, I want to be with him. It just didn't seem like that for me. And she was just being over the top, was trying to get his attention. So it just, I didn't understand. For me, it seemed like more like she wasn't really caring about who he is. She's not trying to get to know him. She just wants like a fling. So that's kind of like where I was going with that. What I want to ask you is like, um, what do you think the director could have done if you were sitting in next to the director, Wes Anderson? What do you think his plan for the movie was? What do you think he was trying to accomplish with?
I honestly, I feel like he was trying to take us into almost like a comic book sci-fi type world. It almost like Twilight Zone type, because it was just the characters were so weird, but like you said, they were still human. So I mean, I definitely think that he wanted these characters to feel natural, in the sense that you can relate to them in whatever awkward way, but also I don't think he was trying to have his audience take anything too seriously. He was trying to tell this story, but I think the focus was more so on who these characters were and the interactions they had, because I felt like a lot of the focus was really on that more so than anything else. Um, he obviously had a bigger purpose for the whole play within a play. Um, Me personally, just because how I received it, I think he missed his mark. But I'm pretty sure that he was that that being included into the film, it had a deeper purpose for him.
So I think obviously I don't have telepathy and I haven't talked to Wes Anderson about any of this. So this is all conjecture on my part and also Carell's. I think what he was intending to do was to just he loves that style of like very bright colors for the sets and the props, and he wants everybody in bright colors. So I feel like what he was trying to do was just make a comedy about everyday life, um, but in this very bizarre world where a crater has, at some point there was an asteroid that crashed onto Earth, and that's the main event every year is the anniversary of when this crater crashed into Earth. So it's just like a very like when small towns celebrate something small or something big, everybody in the town goes to watch it. And I think he just wanted to show how funny it is and also how strange people's behaviors are when they go to these events, and also like the relationships that people have when they are forced to be together in a short amount of time, and then knowing full well that they can leave after that. So it's more of like just kind of delving into human nature in these very like forced situations, and combining that with this event that the whole town goes to, and how people react to it as well as how they react to each other during those moments. So it's not necessarily like a finite this is what this movie is about. It's not about an exploration of space or asteroids or aliens, and it's not about like small town humor. It's just a combination of all of that together. He just wanted to make a lighthearted movie that shows the comical and flawed way human beings relate to each other in those situations.
Yeah, no, that's what it sounds about right to me.
So I was really confused because I there were some moments where like Bryan Cranston was playing like this Rod Serling type of character, like Twilight Zone, where he's narrating what's happening behind the scenes in the movie. And so it's like the actors, the real life actors were playing parts in this movie called Asteroid City, but but they would show like what happens in between the scenes or before the scenes of the characters rehearsing, or they're like like the sleep. There was a whole section where they were had to pretend that they were asleep, and so they were being really silly about it. So it was like rehearsing that, and then there was moments where Rod Serling is narrating, like not Rod Serling, but the Bryan Cranston was playing a character like Rod Serling. So I wasn't really sure like what the purpose of that was. Like, I mean, is it just to be funny and to show the hypocrisy of actors, or to show what really happens when you're behind the scenes? Really didn't understand that part of it. I didn't understand what the play was supposed to be about. If it was, if it was just going to be the movie and that's the play, or if there was something else going on, because it didn't really it was very disjointed of when those scenes came in where it was behind the scenes. So,
Yeah, and he chose to do those scenes in black and white, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was even a little more awkward. It's like, well, the film is in color. Why are we going in black and white for like the
Yeah.
reality? It
I,
was like,
I think I think, like in the Wizard of Oz where like real life is in black and white and the dreamland or imagination is in color. I think that's probably
uh,
what he was trying to do. I just
okay.
didn't understand why we needed it to be a play. Like, what was the like? If these are actors playing a role, then I feel like there needs to be a reason for it, other than just like to be a joke or to show like actors commentary doing a commentary about their roles.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, I would have to have that broken down or explained a little to me for me to feel like it was needed. Because just for my perception of it, like I the film would have been just as good without any of that. You know, I mean, just like let's just do Asteroid City and be in the city and all that and just let that all play out. Honestly, would have personally had a better experience if it was just that. You know, like I said, I don't think those other scenes necessarily took away from the film in a bad way, but it didn't add to the film in a good way. It just was eh.
What I will say is like it I was trying to figure out why this needed to be a play the whole time. Um, so it kind of helped me to like stay focused on those that part of the film. Because I was like trying to figure out what the reason for it was. Because usually when you watch a play, it's on one stage and everybody, it's like it runs from the beginning to the end, and everybody, you don't go to different locations, you don't go to on a TV set, and then you don't go in the rehearsal room. So I think if you wanted to do a play within a play, it might have been better to like have it be like linear like that, like show at the very beginning just the sequence of it, of the behind the scenes, like have the narrator go up to the actors and say like, what do you think about your role, like make it more understandable that that's what he's trying to do, and like maybe show it being like a mockumentary about, have it be a reason that these characters really don't like their roles and they don't want to do this crazy movie that doesn't make sense. Like that would make it a little bit more easier for me to understand the purpose. My final thoughts are the movie was great as far as escapism goes, and it was very quirky. The humor was really top. It was really funny, very cynical and sarcastic, and very quirky. And it came at really fun moments. Like the kids that were geniuses, um, they sit together and they play this game where they have to memorize names, and everybody has to say the same names over and over. And that was actually fun to watch because these little kids are actually having fun in this very, nerdy kind of way. And that maybe like for everybody else, they would look at it and think, I think these guys are nerds, but it made you feel like these kids belong together, and it made me feel like there was humanity in the characters, and that's just one example for the entire, and that was for the entire movie. I thought the characters were really well, the actors really emoted really well, they acted really well, and they really, for the most part, they really nailed the characters and their motivations for what they were doing. So I think there are some moments that were confusing, but for the most part, I really enjoyed it for what it was. It was a great, like, let's just go with the flow and see what happens. And for me going into it, that really helped. So those are my final thoughts. Go and see it. I would rate it an 8.
For me, my final thoughts. I really enjoyed the movie as well. I didn't know what I was in for, but it definitely surprised me in a good way. As you said, the characters were fantastic. Just off the top of my head, one of my favorite scenes was towards the end where they had that whole quarantine going on and all that mayhem when I think the alien had dropped it back down or whatnot, and just like all this craziness breaks out. Like the smart kid that made like the ray gun, he's like shooting things. One kid is trying to float away with a jetpack. Like all this madness is happening. That's right before the dad walks off the set, you know. And I was I kind of wish he stayed on the set because I was really enjoying all the mayhem that was going on. Um, but yeah, no, I really enjoyed the film. The characters are great. Pretty much everyone in there has their like funny moments, you know. Of course, some people are funnier than others, but I thought everyone did really, really good job. Um, I definitely would say that you should go see the film. It's worth your time, I'd say. Yeah, there's those moments that are kind of awkward, but they're short. So I thought it was really good. It's fun. I love the colors, the color scheme. It was a really bright, colorful movie. And yeah, it's worth a watch. I'd probably give it 7.5, 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10.
All right, great. I do want to also comment. We didn't really talk a lot about like the supposed writer of the show, the typewriter guy. That story within the story of like him and the dad and their relationship. So if you want to leave us a comment and tell us what you thought about that, we would love to hear it. What are your thoughts on what that relationship meant in the story and what was the purpose of it? Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for joining us again on Cinema Roundtable. We appreciate all of you, and we are definitely always appreciating any likes, comments, shares, and anyone that comments. Of course, we will be commenting back. Let's get a dialogue and conversation going.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Big thanks to everyone for tuning in, and please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Have a good day.